I know a few people are going to see this video and think I'm going to pull an Anubis, but I'm most certainly not going to do that. This is an issue that I am passionate about personally as someone who has a rated Extreme Demon and is present both on Twitter and Discord regarding the game. So it's something I want to discuss my issues with. My goal isn't to spread negativity in any form, but rather to try and see some positive change in the way the community views and treats Extreme Demons. Additionally, I hold no bad feelings towards anyone or anything that I criticize in this video, which is why I've refrained from mentioning names, they're simply examples of the points I want to make. Anyway, with that aside, ever since the creation of the Demon rating all the way back with Demon Park by M2 Cole, the hardest levels in Geometry Dash have always been a popular topic among the game's player base. What we now know as Extreme Demons were started as projects to explore just how difficult the game could get, with some of the more well-known examples of this being the Hell series, Ice Carbon Diablo X, or Silent Clubstep. Later on, Extreme Demons became a showcase of the absolute best of the best of playing ability, with Riot's legendary Bloodbath verification and levels such as a bizarre Phantasm following in 2015. While some of these early projects were never even done legitimately and either never rated or unrated as a result, many of the original principles surrounding Extreme Demons have carried forth throughout the game's long, winding history until the present day, almost 9 years later, particularly the drive to showcase the best of playing skill. While I can't find much useful information on people's opinions on Extreme Demons before Bloodbath became popular, I can say that the general community's opinion on Extreme Demons has drastically changed since then, and it's become a growing problem with the massive rise in popularity of Geometry Dash on social media platforms like YouTube, Discord, and Twitter over the last few years. First off, one thing I've noticed when reminiscing on older Extreme Demons from 1.9, 2.0, and even early 2.1 is the lack of any real competition. For the most part at least, Extreme Demons tended to just be passion projects more than anything else, and the community tended to treat them with a great deal of respect since there were comparatively few of them at the time. However, as time went on and people became better at the game, levels inevitably became harder, exacerbated by the introduction of different demon ratings in 2.1 and the official Extreme Demon designation we now know today. The increased interest from the community in Extreme Demons prompted the creation of a more official demon list in 2017, which has since morphed into a full website with a team of 15 strong and a public server for announcements, change logs, and highlights. This had an immediate benefit of making competition in beating the game's hardest demons more widespread and accessible, by being able to distinguish cheated runs from legitimate ones and having the incentive of list points received by victors proportional to the placement of the level on the list. This has, however, created several problems in the community, the biggest one being people's increased competition over list points. The competition for Extreme Demons has shifted less away from skill and more towards people simply trying to gain list points. I think this is quite unhealthy as list points are an arbitrary measure completely detached from the game itself other than in difficulty, encouraging people to play levels they dislike for the sake of playing them and creating a system that I believe to have shifted towards unhealthy competition, especially with the involvement of the rating system. In order for a level to be placed on the demon list, it must be rated, which was the list team's way of filtering quality for levels and preventing things such as short challenges from being placed alongside full, well-made levels. I personally think this is a fine choice, but it has led to the issue of people being extremely invested in having Extreme Demons rated for the sake of giving them a chance to place on the list. This has had a couple effects, one very obvious one being that people have gone so far as to harass the mod team and RobTop into rating levels like Abyss of Darkness for the sole reason that they're hard. I personally believe that for many of these levels, remaining unrated would not be cared about by the community nearly as much if they were not hard enough to have a chance to place on the list, even more so to be a new top 5 demon in the case of Abyss of Darkness. It's understandable for people to be frustrated by levels remaining unrated that you as a community member think should be rated, but the reaction to hard Extreme Demons remaining unrated for even a couple of weeks is just insane, largely driven by this obsession with the demon list and list points. I don't see why these levels should be treated so differently just for being hard. Yes, the effort put into their verification is an incredible accomplishment, for example, Demetrio spending over 500,000 attempts verifying Kyuki, but I don't think this should have so much effect on it being rated as to basically be the only reason. The competition that comes as a result of this community obsession with the demon list and list points is an absolute echo chamber of negativity, and has been a big factor in why many people don't enjoy parts of the community anymore, best exemplified by the mixed bag of reactions to the controversial rating of Abyss of Darkness, with some being outspoken in their grievances of the treatment of the mod team and the community's obsession with raids, and others being happy the level was rated, almost proud of what had happened. The lengths that people will go to see their own personal interests realized at any cost is honestly quite unsettling coming from someone who is a creator. The community has created a lot of unnecessary hate towards the demon list for having the rate requirement, the mod team for not passing levels in voting, RobTop for not rating them himself, and even creators for daring to step outside of what is deemed conventional or good or fun by most. Another issue with this is that it has encouraged the creation of Extreme Demons solely for the goal of getting a rate. The generalized interest with list points and having levels be placed on a list means that, with the rate requirement for the demon list, Some creators prioritize getting a level rated over doing their best to make the level as good as they can. This incurs similar problems in Extreme Demons to what many people complain about happening in the Featured tab, in that people tend to stick to what is conventionally considered good, rather than experimenting with anything else, which has sparked several comments about corporate product levels over the last few years, among other things. An especially prominent example of this is N levels, and later Janusha's 9 Circles levels, and the criticism they received for their lack of creativity and innovation on the traditional 9 Circles concept. This has also resulted in the popularization of flow gameplay over the span of 2.1, which has had the influence of many levels prioritizing gameplay sync and flow over playability and accessibility. This problem is far more widespread with easier Extreme Demons, as they are more forgiving in difficulty, and harder levels are generally more difficult to make fun. This happens in conjunction with the so-called glow and flow trend that gained some notoriety from 2019 onwards, for being responsible for what I would consider to be the most boring level trend of all time, as well as the popularization of increasing the level of detail in levels, resulting in optimization going down the drain. Despite this though, it does occasionally pop up in harder levels, with some recent examples being Firework, Ocular Miracle, and even Mayhem. While many creators have recently taken steps to actually innovate upon this type of level with the incorporation of more unconventional design choices, different themes, etc., the problems are still relevant, as Mayhem in particular has received many complaints about both its poor optimization and gameplay that feels like a super buffed medium demon, according to people who have played it. There are many exceptions to this, thankfully, and it's not the biggest issue because many of these levels stay unrated, but it's something I wanted to address due to how often it makes its way into the YouTube algorithm and the impact that it has had on the general creating scene for Extreme Demons. The last major point I want to address is the advent of tools such as MegaHack and how they've affected the community's mindset on Extreme Demons. Since the introduction of MegaHack V6 and its subsequent popularization within the general community with updates such as V7, the tools that it provides have become more and more useful for top players, particularly ones like No Wave Pulse, FPS Bypass, and Show Hitbox on Death. With some exceptions, a lot of these hacks have resulted in people prioritizing the easy way out with Extreme Demons, finding the path of least resistance to beating any level they want to. This isn't uncommon in other communities, but the issue is that how often it comes at the expense of levels themselves, with the inclusion of ridiculous low detail modes and even straight up cheating by some people. Bypass, for one, is a tool that I personally see as a really useful way to even the playing field for people who cannot afford either better devices or better monitors to achieve the lower input lag provided by high frame rates. However, as a consequence, higher frame rates make the game easier to play, and as such people often default to the maximum allowed refresh rate of 360Hz to beat any hard level, even going so far as to switching to low detail mode copies for minimal and sometimes unnoticeable drops in frame rate to be fixed. Speaking on this from personal experience, I have a good enough PC to run most levels on full detail at 288Hz, the refresh rate I use with Bypass to practice some list demons, and I have not noticed any change in performance significant enough to impact the playing experience of these levels until I drop close to my native 144Hz refresh rate. This impact will obviously become greater as the levels get harder and as the refresh rate gets higher, but I do find it disappointing that people are so ready to take the easiest path out at the slightest inconvenience to playing experience, all in the pursuit of YouTube views and list points. Oftentimes, people's solution to lag is to just butcher the decoration of levels with low detail modes and even ultra low detail modes. And while this does help accessibility, it also just allows people a backdoor to take the easiest possible path to beating a level. While not breaking any rules, I just personally think it's disappointing and in bad taste and somewhat disrespectful to the creators of those levels. Additionally, tools seen more as quality of life features such as Show Hitbox on Death, Solid Wave Trail, and No Wave Pulse have at many points come under fire for providing unfair advantages to people with MegaHack. The latter two are not banned, and I think this is fair because the benefits they provide are very niche and mostly just an aesthetic preference. However, the community outcry to Show Hitbox on Death being banned recently reinforces my point about people simply wanting to choose the easy way out. I think it's a nice tool to have for practicing levels, as it can help tell you where you're dying and tell you anything you need to adjust to become more consistent at a certain section, something that simply makes the learning process of the level less trial and error and doesn't provide any real advantage for beating the level. However, when actually trying to beat the level, knowing where and how you died on every attempt can be very advantageous by allowing you to explicitly know how you're dying on each attempt and how to avoid doing so. This thought process is supported by the recent ban only preventing the hack from being used in the raw footage for submitted completions of levels, but many people hated this change for banning a quality of life feature, where it really only bans it in cases where it provides an unfair advantage. I honestly found this kind of laughable how people were outspokenly mad that a tool was banned in cases where it provided the player an unfair advantage locked behind a PC-only program that costs $4, simply because they want playing the game to be as streamlined as possible to suit their personal interests. Alright, that was a lot of talking from me, so I'll recap the main things that I went over. Firstly, I'm disappointed in how competitive people are over the demon list points and the rate requirement for placing levels on the list. I think this has been a breeding ground for a huge amount of toxicity within the community in one way or another, and has resulted in unhealthy environments surrounding both creating and playing Extreme Demons. In addition, I don't like how this rate requirement for the demon list has encouraged people to both harass for up top in the mod team when they don't rate hard levels, and create levels with the specific goal in mind of being rated. Harassment over your personal taste not being realized in-game is something that I just find super counterproductive to the point of creating levels in the first place, and something that I find to be quite upsetting, as well as levels being created for the sole purpose of being rated end up falling under the corporate product umbrella of levels that stick to convention for the sake of being rated. Lastly, the popularization of Mega Hack has led to an increase in players choosing the easy way out, borderline exploding bypass through the usage of very severe low detail modes, as well as negative reactions from the community like the one occurring at the ban of Shohei on death. I genuinely do enjoy seeing cool Extreme Demons come out and witnessing the dedication people put into them. Moments like Demicio's grind to verify Kyuki, the over 2-year process of Bgram, Minecraft, and the team working on Limbo to create a project that really stands out despite its flaws, and the controversial releases of levels like Korra and Crossroads that then grow to become some of the most influential Extreme Demons of their time on the GD creating scene, are all really things that I enjoy about Extreme Demons. Even watching Shman and Sword's progress and genuine enthusiasm in verifying my own levels, it's truly awesome when the community does come together in a positive manner around Extreme Demons. Making, beating, and rewarding the completion of hard levels will likely forever be an integral part of the GD community, and it's my hope that I'm able to help resolve some of the issues that I see with it currently. Thank you so much for watching. This was a huge project for me to undertake, and the script alone took me like 5 days to write. Check out some of my Extreme Demons on screen, and hope you have an amazing day. Really hope you enjoyed.